Beginning transmission. This is the Chaos Community Broadcast, a show about failures and how to navigate complex socio-technical systems so you can surf the chaos instead of succumbing to it. For recording of this show, as well as all the previous episodes, type in chaos.community into a web browser of your choice. I'm your host, James Wickett.
And I'm your host, Casey Rosenthal.
And I'm wondering what I've gotten myself into.
Today we're joined by Corey Quinn. Corey is the cloud economist at the Duckbill Group and specializes in helping companies get rebates for their Amazon bills. He hosts the Screaming in the Cloud podcast and curates the weekly Last Week in AWS newsletter. Some have even referred to him as the Pied Piper of cloud costs. Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to once again indulge my ongoing love affair with the sound of my own voice.
Fantastic. And just to clarify, you help people with their AWS bills, not their Amazon bills.
Exactly. I'm not as good as you would expect when it comes to helping people get better deals on socks. But when it comes to load balancers, I'm the person you want to talk to.
So by way of introduction, you invented cloud billing. Why did you do that? Wasn't the cloud better when it was free?
It absolutely was, until the bill came due for the people building it out. And then they had to figure out really quickly how the hell they were going to recoup that initial investment. So one thing led to another, and here we are. I take no responsibility. That's almost precedential.
Okay. But why is it called the public cloud if you have to pay access, you have to pay to get access to it? That seems like a Jersey Shore-esque notion of public. Is it because they groom the cloud to keep it pristine on the other side of the boardwalk, or how does that work?
It's very similar. Think less about boardwalk, think more along the lines of, public pool. Very often you're required to pay an entrance fee to get in there that covers things like upkeep and the rest. And then once you're in, you can pretty much do whatever you want, which generally translates into just peeing right directly into that pool.
Okay. So in this analogy, are you the lifeguard or?
I would say that I'm sort of like the person who winds up theoretically is lifeguarding, but in practice is mostly just looking for floaters.
So can you give us an example of how you would clean up that pool? I mean, AWS billing for a customer.
Sure.
And are you sure? Are you sure it's Amazon? It's not Amazon. Like, I thought that's what we were doing here. It's not. It's just AWS computers stuff.
Computers are sort of a lofty term, but some of this stuff is. I'm not entirely convinced that a lot of the machine learning isn't just a whole bunch of people doing calculations on abacuses or abaci very quickly and then returning a result. It would explain some of the latency problems. But fundamentally, one of the biggest myths you always have with cloud is that, I'm going to be elastically scaling, which means, I'll scale up to take a whole bunch of load. And that's great. And then when the traffic goes away, you continue to have that scaled up environment just in case it comes back. I'm going to spin this other thing up for just as long as I need it. So you spin up an instance and then you retire before the instance does. It turns out that the number one thing that would ruin my business is if other people just learn to worship at the church of turn that shit off.
That could be a t-shirt.
Oh, it absolutely should. It could be a t-shirt. It could be a religion. It could be a breakfast cereal. There's really not a lot of things you couldn't fit on.
It was recently said of you that you have an admirable ability to succinctly communicate something meaningful, and that you are witty and wicked smart. If that's true, why are you in tech?
Because it's not true. The trick is, it turns out that in tech, there's really no such thing as marketing. So when you have a little bit of a street team and a brand impression, it's basically the same thing as going to a little league game and just blasting the ball over the bleachers, and everyone's astonished and, oh my God, he should be playing the pros. No, it's just I'm really good compared to the 7-year-olds I'm mostly dealing with.
And you sometimes come across as a bit critical of AWS. Why is Werner Vogels a bad person?
I wouldn't say that he's necessarily a bad person. I would say that he is well, I'll call it regulatory capture, because why not? He's forced to say things because his employer pays him large checks, and he can't get up there and be honest. I mean, let's face it. If he got up there and said what he really thought, he'd never be allowed out in public again.
So kind of, this is the Chaos Community Broadcast. Corey, could you speak about whether chaos engineering could be considered a cost optimization strategy for the cloud?
I think you can sort of backdoor your way into it. I think originally chaos engineering was a brilliant idea because you broke something in production once and had to think really quickly how you were going to avoid getting fired. And instead, you turned into an entire field where you're paid top dollar to break things on purpose. That was a nice save. It's impressive.
Thanks. I mean, generally, we don't try to break things on purpose. We try to fix things in production. But that certainly is a connotation that carries over with chaos engineering.
Yeah, we're definitely spiritually aligned. I mean, I believe in turning things off. So do you. The difference is, in my world, people aren't using the things we're turning off.
Any relation to the Quinn family here in Maine, or are you just a kitten born in the oven, as the saying goes?
No. The best thing about growing up in Maine was that at some point I got to leave, and I haven't been back since. In fact, I took a new name when I got married, and I was not Quinn when I was in Maine. I tried to shed everything that had ever possibly tainted me, gotten on me, etc., while I was in Maine. Let's face it, it's dark there 9 months out of the year. All there is to do is sit inside in the dark and cold and develop personality disorders, which pretty much explains everything about me and also you.
Well, as I understand it, you were in Scarborough, which is understandable, and that's a shame because the Quinn family was a fun bunch over on Eagle Island. I actually think you would have gotten along with them. Samuel
Well, they're not
Quinn.
my family. There's a decent chance. I mean, let's face it. Would you want to grow up with me and then still talk to me afterwards? Didn't think so.
I like you a lot, Corey. So
there's no accounting for taste.
Recently, you posted some tweets that condemn gatekeeping in the software industry. That's James. That's the practice of setting a high bar for participation in the industry. Obviously, we don't gatekeep because you're here.
Casey, hey. Not in front of the guests. Remember what we talked about?
For example, like discouraging people who don't have a comp sci degree from even applying to software jobs. Corey, if not gatekeeping, then what methods can we use to discourage the proletariat and the other hoi polloi from contaminating our bit space?
Well, the approach we've been using as an industry has worked super well, which is a whole bunch of things that we call reduction to first principles. We talk about algorithms. We wind up considering spherical cows as we build these analogies. But these are all bells and whistles around the core of what drives people away successfully, and that's our personalities.
Why is what you're doing at the Duckbill Group better than machine learning?
Because what we're doing at the Duckbill Group is real. For one, it's not, we did a bunch of math. Now, what do we need to do with that math? That's right, swindle investors. Let's go ahead and tell a beautiful story so people hurl venture capital at us. The problem you run into when you go down that path is, you need a good story, because let's face it, VCs have no idea what they're looking at. They want to know what excites them. They want to throw money at something they think could change the world, and computers that can think are a terrific opportunity when they look at the rest of the industry and see a bunch of people who can't.
Corey, back on the topic of your last name, Quinn, what is the bird of prey that you most identify with?
Usually I view myself on the other end of that. Specifically, it feels like an eagle comes by every evening to rip my liver out. So fundamentally, it grows back by morning and we're back once again. This is, of course, a metaphor for the AWS bill. It's weird. I never really saw myself on the raptor part of that transaction.
Oh, so no relation to Harley, or I think we messed up on the research, Casey, for the interview. So just skip the next 12 questions.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's fine. You'll have to do a better investigation next time.
just throw out pages 3 and 4. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on the chaos engineering platforms that AWS are introducing, failure as a service, and some of the other tooling that they have around chaos engineering that they're offering to their customers?
Well, I don't think it's anything new. They've been offering you at least one for a very long time. But it's a hard problem that they're dealing with. If you think about it, you've got these, it's basically a study in massive distributed systems. And there are only 3 ways you can guarantee execution. You can guarantee at least once, you can guarantee at most once, or you can do what everyone does and guarantee who the hell knows. Exactly once? Forget it.
That's cloud strategy you can rely on, folks.
If you were to talk to the authors of the chaos engineering book from O'Reilly, how much would you praise them for evangelizing this seemingly counterintuitive practice?
Why on earth would I want to talk to the authors of the chaos engineering book from O'Reilly?
Good point.
That sounds like the least enjoyable use of 45 seconds I can think of.
Yeah, I didn't really expect there to be a guest here today, James.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry, Corey. Sometimes I just tell Casey that there's not going to be a guest because he doesn't always do well with them. Sorry, Casey, but yeah.
Yeah, if we could clear that up in the future. Your username on Twitter for a while was Hydroxy Corey Quinn. Cute. Tell us, what was it like inside the Capitol?
Well, it was a nice vacation. I always wanted to see DC. The problem is I was trying to go inside to get away from some of the Nazis, and instead I wound up hanging out with some members of Congress who were also Nazis. So really, it was kind of a net loss.
I think now would be a good time for our game. That's a good segue into our game. So we have this simple game where I'm going to say a name.
Well, it's
and
not like
you
you'd
have
be able to handle a complex game, so please tell me more.
Yes. I will say a name. You tell me if it's an AWS service, a bad sci-fi movie, or a word that James made up. And keep in mind that James is not very sophisticated or creative, so it's never.
Thanks for bringing me this. Thanks for bringing me into this, Casey. Thank you.
Okay, so Proton.
It exists. It's real. It's in preview, which means it may not ever exist until the fullness of time comes to a close. But it exists. It's a templated way of building services you can pass to your teams so then they don't have that excuse for delivering bullshit anymore. Instead, they have to find other ways to break your company's policies.
Interesting. Light Sail.
Oh, yes, it's real. It's a glimpse of a future that we could have had but didn't when EC2 billing was flat rate and understandable by humans. It's just there to tease us, primarily as a way of saying, you could have had this, but you can't. Their biggest fear on that product team is that someone might actually use it one day.
Fargate.
Yes, although it sounds uncomfortably close to a homophobic slur, it in fact is a way of serverlessly running containers. It's a way of Amazon taking a look at the war between the container folks and the serverless folks and figuring out how can we disappoint both of them.
That's a great hot take right there.
Snowball.
No, that's actually real too, because apparently when naming services, AWS didn't realize they should maybe check Urban Dictionary first. There's also a variant called a snowball edge, which means they're going to make a bad decision and then double down.
Neptune.
Oh, Neptune's absolutely real insofar as a graph database is real. The problem is that when you look at graph databases, the biggest problem you have is explaining them to people. And you say, well, what if you were Facebook? And then the response is, how dare you insult me like that?
X-ray.
X-ray is also real. It was picture distributed tracing if only half of the company was on board with it and the other half just said okay to shut you up. That's X-ray.
Cherimoya.
No, that one is not an AWS service unless it's a secret code name that for some reason no one has leaked to me yet. I don't know why they would do such a thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's actually that went into my grocery list. It's cherimoya season. It's the most delicious fruit known to humans. Mark Twain taught me that. Do we have any sponsors this episode, James?
Oh yeah, it's we're going with Verica as our sponsor.
We're really digging deep on the sponsors. It's been the same one for weeks now.
Yeah. Well, we'll go with it. Verica has sponsored.
We know that Verica is not an AWS service. It's close to one because if you look at it, if you mishear it as Erica, then absolutely, because building weird things and then slapping a random woman's name on things is absolutely on brand for them. Alexa, Kendra, there are a pile of others. But you took a creative step and put the letter V in front of it. And at that point, well, AWS doesn't have anything approaching that kind of creativity. The only thing they ever put in front of it is AWS or Amazon, and then there's an internal holy war as far as which one gets which.
Well, as I said, James isn't really known for his creativity, so obviously he did not come up with that one.
Yeah. Casey. Verica has sponsored the Chaos Engineering book, which both Casey and Nora wrote. It was a book published by O'Reilly, and for a limited time, Verica is providing that for free, the full PDF available to you. Just go to verica.io/book. This book by Nora is really good.
Public book, we could call it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like the
I don't
public
even want to
cloud.
imagine what the billing model on that looks like. Now, the problem, of course, is with a PDF is you don't get to confront people at the most inopportune possible moments, usually 3 a.m. in their bedroom after you've just broken through a window, and ask them to sign it for you. But you could do it with a digital signature style of thing, but I don't know. During the pandemic, probably makes sense. Once we go back to meeting in person, you're going to want the paperback. The problem is I read the ebook, so I have to ask, since there are different types of O'Reilly books. If I accidentally knock the Chaos Engineering book off of a table and it kills a dog, is that only work if the dog is small, medium, or large?
Small. We know from experience.
Yeah, this is a real sore subject, Corey. I can't believe we're going to have to edit this part out.
But other than that, you liked the book?
Yeah, it's fantastic. My table doesn't wobble anymore.
Fantastic. See that, James?
This is the kind of feedback we've been getting, Corey. Yeah.
Originally, I was using it as a doorstop, and then sometimes it didn't hold the door would slam shut, and it was a perfect case study of chaos engineering. When something fails to do the purpose you got it for, what do you do? How do you recover from that failure?
I told O'Reilly to use heavier stock.
And bigger font, right? So
smaller words for you, James. But I understand we have some people on the line who would like to call in and ask Corey a question.
Yes. So let me bring in our first caller.
Hey, Corey, big fan. As a former resident of what I'm sure you would agree is this great state of Maine, I have just one important question for you. What is your favorite thing about being an industry analyst? Cheers.
My favorite part about being an industry analyst is that I can say basically whatever I want. There's no barrier to entry, so no one can gatekeep me from being out of it. And if I'm completely wrong, well, I fit right in.
Maybe you could be an industry analyst, James.
Yeah, thanks, Casey.
I don't know about that. I mean, one of the primary skill requirements is wearing a suit. I don't know how well you pull that one off. But everything else you've got in spades.
What is your favorite analyst firm out there?
That depends. If we're looking for actual insight, hard to beat Redmock. If you're looking for covering your ass, there's no better option than Gartner out there. And of course, there is the analyst firm that everyone cares about but no one acknowledges, which is the court of public opinion, which is generally found on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm familiar with The Gardener. It's a good movie. Really made me rethink my approach to, my yard and stuff. So
I have a question for Corey. It's more of a comment, or maybe a challenge. So my question for you, Corey, is can you say one nice thing about Kubernetes?
Kubernetes is fantastic at running global world scaling things that are incredibly complicated, that tie together a whole bunch of different things simultaneously. And I don't have any of those things, so I don't have to worry about it.
That's great. If we could capture that statement and put it on the blockchain so that it's preserved for posterity, that would be fantastic.
Well, capturing things with blockchain is incredibly important. People have been trying for 10 years, and the only thing they haven't been able to capture is a business model or value.
I'm glad we did have a guest for this episode, and it wasn't just me and you left alone again, Casey.
I have a different opinion, but okay.
Corey, well, you were welcome to share it. We really appreciate you on the show. I'm sorry I brought Casey on. Did I tell you that Casey was coming?
That's the part I would definitely change.
Yeah, well, next time, maybe you and I could just, talk together. Great. Well, I think that concludes our show, folks. Corey, it was really great to have you on. Casey, just average, maybe a little below. For recording of this broadcast, as well as all of our previous broadcasts, please go to chaos.community in the web browser of your choice. We are ending transmission now.